Hey everyone, I'm Kain Warwick and welcome to Uneasy Money, because what happens on chain never stays on chain. I'm here with my co-hosts, Taylor Monahan, security expert, and Luca Netz, CEO of the Pudgy Penguins metaverse, universe, ultraverse. We are going to dive in 1 minute, but one quick thing before we start. Nothing you hear on Uneasy Money is financial advice. We're just three builders talking about what's happening on chain, and we want you to always do your own research before aping in. You can find all our disclosures at unchaincrypto.com/uneasymoney. But before we begin, here is a word from our sponsors that make the show possible.
You hear that delay? You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We need to get rid of that delay.
The Energy Network is an intelligent, decentralized grid that coordinates smart devices to balance supply and demand. Energy Dollar is the native token of the network from one of Europe's fastest growing energy startups. Follow at Fuse Energy on X to find out more. Multi-Chain Advisors is an emerging technology growth firm that has helped create $50+ billion in enterprise value for 80+ clients over the past 4 years. They're the partner to help navigate markets. Build real traction today at multichainadv.com. If crypto taxes feel overwhelming, you are not alone. That's why Crypto Tax Girl, a team that's been helping crypto investors since 2017, is offering $100 off on one-on-one crypto tax help. To get $100 off your crypto tax services, go to cryptotaxgirl.com/unchained. Again, that's cryptotaxgirl.com/unchained.
All right. We're back. So we have a bunch of topics this week, but first we have a little preamble, I guess, because the world is going crazy. So Tay, I don't know, you can take it from here. First of all, Kyle from Multicoin retired or something. I don't know. Maybe he's
Which was
uploading
weird.
himself into a computer or something. I don't know exactly what's going on, but he's left crypto. But he took the time to take a couple of pot shots on the way out the door at like Hyperliquid. And I couldn't help himself. He's like, "Hey guys, I retired. You'll never see me again." But also, by the way, here's some dumb shit that I'm gonna say as I'm literally disappearing into the hedge. So Tay, yeah, hit us. What's going on?
I don't know. What's going on? I don't know. I think whenever you have these sort of like market shifts, people get weird. I think the world is actually like, it feels like this is like a bigger than just like another bear market though. My biggest like observation has been like the AI turnover. We saw huge number of folks from like XAI leave. The Anthropic guy, he was like the head of their safeguard research, which I assume is like the guy who's in charge of making sure that AI doesn't go insane and kill us all. He wrote this like really scary philosophical letter about his like observations and why he was leaving. He ended the tweet though with this like statement that I kind of relate to, but I'm also like, I'm terrified. He just said, anyways, I'll be moving back to the UK and letting myself become invisible for a period of time. And
Okay, buddy. Thanks for that. Like this guy's like seen into the abyss, and the abyss has absolutely come and taken his soul. So like the safety people are losing their minds, right? And I feel like there was a long X article that I read yesterday from this guy that was like, "Hey, I know all of the normies out there." He's like, this is like, he runs an AI startup. And he said, "I've been working in AI for like 5 years," right? He's like, all of my normie friends are like, I tried ChatGPT. It's fine. Like, I'm okay. I'm a lawyer. It'll be fine. And he was like, this feels a little bit like the first 2 weeks in Feb in 2020, where like people are, and it's interesting, right? Because like, who is the most connected to these like zeitgeist changes? It's always crypto people, because we're fucking insane, right? The crypto people are lunatics, and they're so obsessively weirdly into like whatever weird stuff is going on, even outside of crypto, that like we were probably in December, it feels like we hit this like weird Cambrian explosion of like crypto people doing weird AI stuff. Anyway, so this guy's like, it feels like early COVID. And for those of us who were in crypto, early COVID on crypto Twitter, when crypto Twitter still existed before it was killed, people were like, this is bad. I remember walking around and saying to people in like real life, like, we are fucked. This is going to be an absolute catastrophe. This is in Feb. In Feb, first week of Feb, we sent everyone home.
Yeah.
We're working from home now. Good luck, guys. We'll see.
We'll figure it out later.
Like literally, like we just sent everyone home, like first week of Feb, and then we watched this all play out. And this guy is like, this feels like something like that, where there are people who are kind of canaries in the coal mine who are like, shit's getting weird. And we're about to kind of, and it's funny. So I had dinner with a good friend of mine who was in crypto for a long time. He was our CTO at Synthetics in 2018. He's been out of crypto. He's been out of everything, on like talking about people like disappearing. He lives in Lisbon. Hangs out and like surfs and stuff, right? And I was like, how much have you been paying attention to this stuff? And he's like, not much at all. And I was like, dude, like,
wow,
you are about to be hit by a tsunami, and you're just like paddling around being like, this is fun. And so it does feel like we are in this transitional moment, and like something happened, like Opus 4.6 and Codex 5.3. Codex 5.3 is the wildest shit I've ever seen. Like, it is wild. It is so much smarter than me that I'm like becoming deferential to it. I find myself being like, oh, thank you for not killing me right now. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So,
yeah. Be nice to your AI, Kain. Like, it's coming for you.
I used to be kind of a dick. I'm like, God, you fucking idiot. Like, stop doing dumb shit. And now I'm like, thank you for doing smart things. I really appreciate it.
A for effort.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. I'm definitely going to be turned into paper clips for sure. Okay, let's get into the first segment. BlackRock picks Uniswap rails on Ethereum for its Biddle fund, which I hate that name so much, but here we are. So they have a $2.2 billion tokenized Treasury fund, and it's going to be tradable on Uniswap via Uniswap X. Uniswap X is this new version of Uniswap that has like hooks and various things. So it's permission, which I think we're okay with in 2026. 2019 me would have been losing my mind about this, but whatever. It is what it is. The institutions are here and they want KYC. So you have to be pre-qualified, there's whitelist, etc. They also acquired some Uni. Thank you for buying our bags. That's amazing, because Uni was trading at like $3. So I'm very excited that they were able to push it back up to $4. So this feels like the thing we've been waiting for, right? Like institutions coming, using on-chain stuff, tokenizing things. Like, yeah, there's some KYC, but let's just squint and ignore that. And it feels pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is like what we were waiting for. It kind of, I don't know. I guess I'm like, well, like waiting for what happens next, seeing if it hits the same. Like the announcements just are like,
we're so greedy. We're like, yeah, you're trading your like securities on our blockchains, but like, what else are you gonna do for us?
But it is a massive improvement, I would say, over the last few years. Like we might be getting closer together. We might be merging these worlds, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see if it's they still sort of have to find like PMF, right? To a certain extent.
Yeah, I think to me it feels like the meme and narrative of like always on trading, we've kind of like got these guys over the line. Like the TradFi guys are like, yeah, actually fine. Like, let's just trade all the time and never sleep. So I think like that alone is like a bit of a win for us, that we're like, oh, okay, we convinced these guys that 24/7 markets was a good idea somehow. Because there was a period of time where like TradFi was like, we are going to go to 1 hour markets twice a week. And we're just going to consolidate all of trading activity into these like 2 hour windows at the start of the week and the end of the week, and not bother to do things in the middle. And we're like, what if we did the exact opposite of that? And we seem to be winning. So yeah, that feels bullish.
Yeah. Well, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I think that there's an opportunity here, right? Like, again, like these two worlds getting closer and closer together. The real question will be, does anyone actually want to do this? Especially with the permissioned stuff.
That's the question. It's like, does this improve liquidity? Does it actually?
Yeah. So
Luca, what's going on? What do you think about this?
I spent more time going down the LayerZero rabbit hole yesterday, so I probably don't have as much to speak on this as it's probably cool that like they're actually buying a token that's an altcoin. I think that's probably like the brief understanding I have about the whole BlackRock thing. Is the coolest part to me, in my brief understanding of it, is BlackRock is buying and holding altcoins.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That feels bullish. Yeah, I'm excited about that. As a Uni bag holder, I'm excited for anyone to buy Uni. The more people who buy it, the better. Someone's got to buy our bags. Okay, let's go on to our second segment. Like, am I losing my mind? But did we not decide that we don't need every single person to have a chain? We had like a 3-month period where we're like, we don't need any more chains, and now we're back to actually, no, we need all the chains.
We just talked about this last week, and we were like, cool. We're gonna chill on the chains.
We're gonna chill on chains.
It's gonna be less chainy.
No, more chains.
All right, Luca, give us the depth. Sorry.
Bear markets, right? Like, it's like as soon as you get into a bear market, people just go back to the same old shit. They're like, all right, launching more chains. So Luca, well, I guess let's just go through the chains that launched, right? So MegaETH launched. I'm bullish on MegaETH. I was excited that they launched. I think they are doing some very interesting things, like not launching the token with the chain, having these KPI based gates. There's a bunch of cool stuff that MegaETH is trying, and it feels good to have someone trying new shit right now, especially in a bear market, right? Like, that's the time to do experimentation. But probably and then, you know, Robinhood launched a chain on Arbitrum, which is also interesting. Going to be interesting to see how they, like, speaking of, you know, chain pilling, TradFi, right? Like, it feels like we've definitely got all of the like big retail facing TradFi apps to like go all in on chains. They need to have chains. So I feel like that's, again, a win. Too many chains, but here we are. So the most interesting one yesterday for me, though, was maybe LayerZero. So Luca, if you went down that rabbit hole, give us the debrief. What's going on with LayerZero?
Yeah, the layman's explanation, because I can only explain because it's very tech heavy. So Kain, maybe you get into the minutia. As you know, in layman's terms, it's probably one of the greatest technological advancements from a, you know, EVM ZK perspective, right? Like, I think for those who are not familiar with LayerZero is basically the interoperability protocol that basically allows any and all cross-chain, you know, movements to happen. If something's cross-chain, there's a 90% chance it's probably being powered by LayerZero. I know they've pretty much had, you know, huge market share either via Stargate or actual LayerZero protocol, but nonetheless, They've been working on this for the last 2.5 years. The thought process for them was like, look, you know, if we're going to do certain things, I remember speaking to Brian a year ago, and he was kind of constrained in terms of certain ambitions that he had around certain builds. He was kind of alluding to that he was working in this direction, but obviously he didn't share anything at the time. But basically, the most performant blockchain that requires the most menial or the most basic hardware to kind of process and run. Basically,
it was running on a Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi, which is super impressive.
Right.
And basically, it's, you know, the tagline, which I loved, is the last blockchain, and he's basically saying you don't need another blockchain after this one. This is the one.
Please.
Yeah,
just the 15th standard problem.
Now I will say those guys that's probably one of the best teams in crypto. Kain, you'd probably agree. I mean, those guys.
Yeah, I love those guys. I think so. The most interesting thing to me, aside from the tech, right? And Luca, I think you will have some thoughts here, right? Is the channel conflict problem of LayerZero. If I'm not mistaken, when LayerZero launched, they're like, we don't need a chain. We are the LayerZero below all the chains. We're not going to compete with you guys. We're going to, you know, just make all your chains better and interoperable. And so don't even worry about it. Like, we're definitely not going to do anything to threaten that equilibrium. And then they're like, fuck it. We're just going to launch a chain.
All right. What does the chain do now? Like, what is the...
It's fast, bro. Like, what, like 2 million TPS.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So wait, okay, but seriously,
in a world where AI agents are going to be sending a quadrillion transactions a week, right? Like, nothing outside of Solana is, at least like on a production perspective, can kind of meet that demand. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but at least like to my knowledge, right? Like, Solana is the only battle tested one. Zero's not battle tested, but this is like the fire dancer dream and everything kind of compartmentalized in a new foundational model that, like, blockchains aren't built. My understanding of it is like blockchains aren't built the way that these guys built it. It kind of reinvents how people, I think, look at them, and how I guess, you know, certain parts of the puzzle kind of fit in. And so it's kind of like a new foundational layer on, like, you know, when you think about it, if you want to process huge amounts of transactions, you know, if you can do that with minimal hardware requirements, then you kind of like fulfill the promise of like a fast blockchain that's permissionless and censorship resistant. It kind of is like the taglines, at least to me, read like the creme de la creme of like blockchains, right? Because like, what is Solana's big objection, right? The concentration of the validators, right? I mean, if everyone can run a validator, you know, for zero chain on a Raspberry Pi, then all of a sudden you have like Ethereum level decentralization with like Solana-esque performance. But the argument is that like this is even a lot faster than even Solana.
Okay.
So you have like a, you know, like in a world where we believe, which I think like the next great crypto bull run is going to come from this idea, this speculative idea that like AI agents are running all this volume and transactions on crypto rails. Like, what chains are going to reap the benefits from that? Well, probably the fastest, most decentralized, you know, chain that's probably with the cheapest cost is gonna realize that, and like their costs too are like unheard of. You know, it's like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a penny, you know, for a transaction. That one of the things in their presentation was like, you know, gas is basically gone, right? Like, we've eliminated gas, whatever that means. If it means what if it means what we think it means literally, then, you know, that is the arena in which I think the people will play. Now, you know, it is fascinating because I wonder if I'm a chain, if I then think to myself, the thing is like, if you're using LayerZero and OFT as a service, your cross-chain capability, if you're like Solana, or if I'm abstract, and then I see LayerZero building a chain, like, I'm going to think to myself, wow, this is a super competitive product, right? And, you know, in this world, as Kain, you were explaining, and I've been saying for years, like, tech is not the moat. That's probably the first time in a long time where we can say tech is a moat, until, you know, all the LLMs start capturing, you know, all of the data and all of the code and maybe people can soon copy Zero Chain. I can't speak on that.
Dude, like, honestly, agents are going to be launching their own chain soon, and they'll be better than
no.
So
Please,
we need to make peace with that. Like, they're going to be like, oh, it took you 2 years to build this chain. That's so cute. I built my chain in 2 minutes, and it's got 8 million TPS. I don't know. Like, I'm bearish on humanity's ability to build things at this point. We're really cooked.
Okay, but it's still, the whole point of the chain is still primarily interoperability, settlement stuff.
I think
right?
settlement.
Like,
so the point was, I guess, that that like all of these again, this is like, it feels like the two threads that are going on here is like TradFi coming in and saying this is, this is the thing we're going to bet on, on this zero token, zero tech, zero chain. And same thing with Uniswap, right? Like, we're betting on this Ethereum, gated on-chain liquidity solution, and we're going to buy into the protocol itself. So it feels like if this starts to become a thing, that it could really differentiate the tokens that are becoming investable by like actual institutions as opposed to Bitcoin. Like, we haven't really seen institutions, to your point, Luca, buying alts. Unless you include ETH, which we should not talk about. But outside of that, right? Like, we've had some DATs buying ETH and Sol and some alts, but institutions, actual, large companies turning up and saying, no, we're going to buy Uni, we're going to buy Zero. That feels pretty new for this cycle. It feels like the first time that I've seen these announcements. So, yeah, we gotta lean into that, I guess, if that's working. But it does feel like that will become a very big differentiator. Like, is this asset investable is going to be a big question that probably crypto people are going to start asking themselves. Like, why am I buying this random shitcoin if ARK is not willing to buy it?
I mean, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
That's like a full 180 from like the current meme coin status.
Totally.
Right. And we're gonna go back to the technicals and the foundations and see what if we can actually like build new value.
I had a podcast yesterday, and it was this like OG DeFi guy that started asking me questions about like, how tokens work, right? And like why they work the way they do. And it forced me to really kind of rethink my position on tokens in 2026. And my hot take is that in DeFi summer, like that whole period, we figured out ways to create token sinks. Like, token sinks were the thing. You had to find a way to get people to hold a token. This cycle has been the memification and perpification of everything. No one holds anything. No one holds tokens. No one wants to hold tokens. And in order for tokens to hold any value, someone has to be buying them and holding them, right? If everyone is just selling them and it's this, very short-term trade, then it's just not going to work. So my hot take is that seeing things like this, Citadel buying Zero is a token sink. They're not going to dump on you in 48 hours, right? Like, they have, like a mandate to now hold this token for a while. So that alone, seeing TradFi start to buy these tokens and hold them could be an interesting catalyst as well. So,
I mean, I am 100% for it. I'm for anything that is not continuing to this like race to the bottom of tokens being valueless. And like, it just feels like we just got really, really race to the bottom in terms of like intelligence on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think like attention, like the meminess and like the attention, like I think that's a huge part of it. We just like, once again, like crypto does, we just took it way too far. Like way too far. We're like, nothing has any value. Nothing matters.
The tagline of crypto is like, you think that you've taken something too far. Well, hold my beer, because I will take it. And, it is funny, right? Like what ended up happening was, and, why do we take things too far? Because we have a vested interest in taking it too far. Something starts working and we're like, oh, okay, how can I like take this to its like logical conclusion, right?
Yeah.
And so this false equivocation of like everything is meaningless, nothing has value, everything is just a short-term trade. There's no difference between like, a dog with hat and uni. They're the same thing. They're just like a random trade. They're a random cryptographic thing that you can sell and buy and trade, right? Like they have no there's no distinction between those two things. It really hollowed us out, right? Like it created, and part of that was regulatory, et cetera. There were a whole bunch of reasons for that, but I think if we get back to a world where we go, no, there is a difference between Pepe and Uniswap, right? And it doesn't mean Pepe is bad, but Uni, the token, has some intrinsic utility and value for reasons, and people want to hold it. And look at some of the people who are holding it, right? Like back in the day, we used to point at crypto VCs and be like, Andreessen's holding Uni, like get excited, right? I feel like Citadel, they might be evil, but they're probably going to be an even better holder than Andreessen. But all right, before we continue, here's a word from the sponsors that make this show possible.
The world is about to see one of the largest infrastructure shifts of the century. New technologies are using more energy than ever before, but our legacy grids can't supply the demand, and we are barreling towards a global bottleneck. So Fuse is rebuilding it. The energy network is an intelligent, decentralized grid that coordinates smart devices to balance supply and demand. The network harmonizes existing infrastructure, increases grid capacity, and unlocks low-cost, clean energy. Energy Dollar is the native token of the network. The more electricity the world needs, the higher the demand for the energy network. The value of energy dollars may fluctuate. From one of Europe's fastest-growing energy startups. Follow at Fuse Energy on X to find out more. Multichain Advisors is an emerging technology growth firm that has helped create over $50 billion in enterprise value for more than 80 clients, like Pith, MoonPay Commerce, and Wormhole. They've worked with some of the largest and most impactful companies in the space. They're the partner you want when you're navigating markets and trying to break out from the noise. They help navigate TGEs, go-to-market, BD, and partnerships, capital markets advisory, PR, media placements, KOL activations, and more, driving execution from launch to scale. Their results are measurable. To learn more and start building real traction today, visit multichainadv.com.
If you're looking for help with crypto taxes, Crypto Tax Girl is offering $100 off for Unchained listeners. They provide personalized crypto tax reports and returns, and spots before April 15th are limited. Go to cryptotaxgirl.com/unchained to save $100. Once again, the link is cryptotaxgirl.com/unchained.
All right, we are back. So betting on mindshare. We've talked a lot about Kaito over the last 6 months, the Kaito attention meta. This is a slight different take. Kaito, because they were cut off from the X API, they've had to kind of pivot towards these different approaches. And so there's a partnership between Polymarket and Kaito to launch attention markets starting in March that will let users wager on social media, mindshare, and sentiment. So Kaito is going to aggregate data from X, TikTok, and Instagram. I thought they got cut off from X. I don't know how they're going to pull that off, but we'll see. Nikita's probably looking into all of the API deals that they've got right now. So Polymarket processed $8 billion in volume in January, which was up 44%, which feels crazy. Like, so, you know, historically the meme with Polymarket has been like, oh, it's just like an election thing, and it you know gets big for the election and then it dies off. Obviously the election is, you know, a 4-year cycle thing that's a huge driver of volume, but this cycle post-election they have held their volumes really well, and you know, I think that's been the combination of like the rise of sports markets and a bunch of things. But these attention markets, I don't know, Luca, what's your take on attention markets?
Yeah, I think functionally the big problem there, and the smartest people in the world have yet to be able to solve it, is this idea that I just don't know how you can't rig these attention markets, right? Because the attention is derived from social activity, right? And social impressions, and activity and impressions can be rigged. And the biggest companies in the world, a la Meta and, you know, and Google, you know, have been trying since the beginning of their business to figure out, you know, which impression's a real impression versus a fake impression. And though I'm sure they have, you know, decent solutions, it's not foolproof. And I think when you're just like hyper financializing, you know, attention without, you know, some $1 trillion intermediary like validating that, I think it's just going to get a little messy. I think it can be a little messy. So in that respect, I think it's interesting. The Kaido team's incredibly bright, like super excited for them to, you know, try to innovate here. But, you know, functionally, I'm worried that the attention can be rigged too easily. And even the Kaido product, just speaking directly to the Kaido product, one of the big problems with the Kaido product was that the bots were farming the apps, and, you know, you couldn't, you know, you were able to rig that system to a certain extent, and that ultimately hurt a lot of crypto Twitter's feed. So I think functionally, it's a little bit of a bigger problem than I think. I think it's a great idea. I just don't think functionally. I can't see how that can't get rigged or exploited in a way that's only going to be harmful to users. But excited to see what they've come up with, and I'll definitely be placing some bets and trying to see how it works.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it doesn't feel, you know, if people on the inside of this, if Nikita and Elon are still being overrun by bots, and it feels like they are, it's hard to imagine that an outside entity that doesn't have control over that infrastructure is going to be able to solve this problem through like filtering or, you know, algos. So I don't know. We'll see. This feels like one of those things that maybe like a partnership that started 6 months ago and has been slowly working its way towards launch, and it's now launched, and it's like, oh yeah, actually we've been we've been nuked in the interim. So look, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens here and how they manage it. Certainly Polymarket is never short of controversy around market resolution. So this should add some interesting market resolution chaos, I would imagine.
I mean, that's one thing I was thinking about is like, if you look at like the thing that Kato like needs to do, right? It's like on the attention side. And then you look at the thing that Polymarket needs to do, and it's like really get the trust in the resolutions like up. I don't know how this fits into that, guys. Like, it seems like you've really I mean, if you manage, I guess if Polymarket manages to solve that, right? Meaning manages to somehow increase the trust in the resolutions while also bringing attention markets to market, like, then I guess the rest is like easy and they're done, right? They've solved all the problems. But that's, I mean, personally, I wouldn't start.
Well, so I'm an investor in a project called Noise, which I think a lot of people were excited about. It was part of the MegaETH ecosystem for a while. They've launched elsewhere now. And we had an interesting debate at Bodhi where Jordan was like, I don't know how this is going to work. And I was like, you're overthinking it. Like, it's attention. It doesn't matter. Like, don't even worry about it. And he was like, what do you mean don't even worry about it? Like, the entire thesis of the thing is that you can measure attention somehow and it won't be gameable. I'm like, don't like, it's fine, bro. Don't even think about that part of it. Just
That's the whole thing.
and he was like, you are so retarded. I don't know how to deal with you. He's like, how am I investing money with you? And I'm like, it's just people are excited about it. You just roll with it. So
I mean, yeah.
Let's see what happens. Anyway, I won.
I'm here for it.
We invested in noise. So
But was that a win, Kain?
yes. It's always a win
Okay.
if I get my way. Doesn't matter if I lose money. It's just important that I get the check written. I don't really care.
All right.
I don't care about the rest of it. They let me write like 2 checks a year, so that was one of them. All right, cool. Base has pivoted away from Farcaster Social within the Base app. I thought this was really like Base and in particular Jesse. He is Jesse is so adamant about their attention to what people want, whilst also trying to balance this, not being driven by like the current meta. Like they're trying to like invent stuff and like create new meta, whilst also and it's a really hard thing to balance, right? And so when they added all of this social stuff in Farcaster, most of the people who are using the Base app, my sense was the feedback that they got was, get this stupid social stuff out of my face. I'm trying to trade tokens here. And they were like, no, it'll be good. And then, eventually they kind of capitulated and removed it. And they're really now kind of focusing this the Base app as a trading app, as a trading first experience. And they're tweaking a few other things like removing these creator rewards, and just trying to dial in on what is working for them, which seems to be the trading part of the app. I don't know. It's interesting. The Steve Jobs view of the world of like customers don't know what they want, sort of thing. Like we're gonna just keep doing stuff, and eventually people will realize that they actually want it like this, right? If you go and ask the user what they want, they'll say like 5 more buttons, but actually what they really want is no buttons. They just want a piece of glass. They just don't know it yet. So there's a really interesting product development angle here of like kind of capitulating to just traders. It feels like obviously Base and Coinbase have such good distribution, they can get away with building a pure trading app, but it does feel like a bit of a missed opportunity to me for them to kind of lean into some of the things that were less obvious that they were trying to kind of move into existence. So I don't know. Markets are marketing.
I agree with your take. Honestly, it seems like a very safe bet, right? Pivoting it into something safe versus, what I think Jesse was going for was super ambitious. All of the CT peanut gallery were calling him a loser and everything. And, I guess you at Brian Armstrong enough times, you'll pivot. But I'm going to be honest, like, did I think the execution of what they were going for was done right? No. Do I think they were pulling on the right thread? And was the swing that they were trying to take, a big enough swing that it was worth pulling that thread, even if it, required maybe, getting a couple paper cuts on the way? Yes. I think this is like a really safe concession to just try to go and launch a 20 biller Base L2 coin without like causing a ruckus from now until then. But I've said this for a while, like really studying blockchains when we were, building early days of Abstract. I was just watching what everyone was doing. The operational excellence and like the team over there at Base is really bar none. I'd probably say the only team that I've met that I think, works and interfaces the way that they do on a blockchain side is Solana. But those Base guys, you can tell they really are taking the first principles, foundational, layers of like what it is to build a Silicon Valley tech company, and they're trying to apply it here. This just seems to me like, dude, you guys should just buy Axiom. If this is the direction you're going, just buy the best. Because the one thing Coinbase has never been good at is they've never had taste, and they're not good product guys. And I think anyone at Coinbase, if you were to criticize them, you'd have to say that that's the criticism. right? There's some operational things that I think too, but building a trading app, it's just like you bought Echo, just go buy Axiom. Because you guys building a trading app, I don't think is going to end up very well, because I just don't think they did hire one guy though. I remember Peter, who's our chief design guy. So this might be wrong, but the base that I know has no taste. But they did hire, I think, one of like the great front end designers in the world recently, who Peter said, for the first time, they're like, oh yeah, if this guy actually does what he's known for doing, they might actually have a shot. But I don't know. I just think this is a very safe, obvious, like very complacent bet, where I feel like what they've been building for the last couple of years, though everybody and their mom was talking shit about it, I thought was super ambitious. And I felt
agreed. And I think that's the thing. Like, Jesse caught a bunch of shit, but he clearly had a mandate, right, to do some weird stuff, try things. It is funny though. The things that I disagreed with, I guess, were almost more cultural. Like I'm in one of the base, like Coinbase Mafia chats, right? And it's interesting. I had a pretty heated discussion with Jesse about this at one point, where I was like, you guys are kind of being psyoped by people pretending to be supporting base into supporting people that are actually just trying to extract from you. And it's a very hard position to be in, to try and pull something off like they did. But if you go back and look at the start of base, when everyone's like, this is going to be a ghost chain, there's it's not going to work, this is dumb, why do we need, like, he has actually pulled off something pretty incredible. And I think that gave him a mandate to do some weird shit. And then he did some weird shit, and people were like, no, not like that. Not that weird shit. Don't do that stuff. And now it feels like it's kind of been reeled in a little bit. It's gone a bit more conservative, which I think, to your point, Luca, is a bit of a loss, right? Like, if anyone was going to do weird shit and pull it off, even like Farcaster, we talked about Farcaster, like, they tried to do some crazy shit and it didn't work, and they had a lot of resources, but they're not Coinbase. They don't have that level of distribution, right? Like, they're ex Coinbase, but like Jesse has a level of distribution and attention and market power that it feels a bit weird to just kind of capitulate and go, oh, we're just going to build a trading app now, another trading app.
Yeah, I agree. And I wonder how much is just like sort of like the amount of time that's passed and the financials behind it. I don't know how Coinbase breaks down their like their org structure and the financials, but they are a public company. They do have to like consider these things.
They have to make money. Yeah. I mean, base is making money. Like, I think irrespective of trading, obviously trading has, and this is part, I've talked a lot about this, right? Like, the hybridization of centralized exchanges, moving away from a database to on-chain. Coinbase and Base and Jesse and Brian have been pushing this now for 4 years, right? Like, they were one of the earliest ones. Basically, Binance and them were like, we're going to start a chain, bro, and we're going to have wallets, and it's going to be really cool, and we're not going to just sit in our little walled garden database anymore. And probably there's some element of like, they're victims of their own success, because Base was just starting throwing off cash.
Yeah.
And it wasn't coming from the Farcaster social side. It was coming from trading, right? And so you can imagine there's someone sitting there in Coinbase going, hey, our Q3 numbers, like, we need to pump these things. So let's really lean into this trading thing. And it is hard. It's hard to kind of balance this giant incumbent that is transitioning on chain and figuring out the kind of constraints around being also a public company that has to make money.
Yeah And I think you get a little bit of leeway for a little bit. You're going to do this experimental thing, you're going to watch the market, you're going to learn what the market wants, but I think after a certain amount of time, it becomes pretty clear where the revenue is coming from, and two, you do start having to like answer like what, if you're and you can't sort of speak out both sides of your mouth. If Jesse's running around Twitter doing this, and you know, in their whatever their quarterly get on the phone and talk to shareholders, they're talking about something else.
Yeah.
At some point, you do have to.
If you're making, you know, $20 million a month or whatever it is, right, from sequencer fees, all of a sudden someone somewhere in Coinbase is going to be like, don't break this, right? Like you have to become more conservative. And so, you know, like you sort of become a victim of your own success a little bit. I think that's kind of happened to Jesse, where it's like, dial it back, bro. Like we need to, and maybe he would say that's wrong. You know, this is just the right thing to lean into, and it's where product market fit is coming from. But it does feel like, hopefully in the bear market, as people's scrutiny goes down a little bit, they will still have more leeway to like try stuff, because I think honestly, if anyone is going to pull off doing some weird shit and memeing it into existence, right, like social stuff and various things, it's going to be base. They have the network effects to actually do something like that and pull it off that is not purely financialized. So yeah, we'll see.
I'd also just argue from like a brand perspective, if you look at the other people who are doing this sort of like centralized exchange chain, like whatever, like you're going up against basically like Binance and, you know, the big guys. That's a very different culture, like a massively different culture. And the thing that worries me about this move most of all is I don't think that Coinbase and their teams and their culture and their product people and their designers, like you can hire all the best people, they're not going to go all in like Binance goes all in on trading, right?
You can't. They can't. Like
there's actual crime to bolster, to actually get those platforms to have momentum. You actually have to commit some crime, right? What is that? Like on-chain runners, bundling. Like you think these guys aren't doing that? They totally are. And I know that's a fact.
I just think, and I think like, I don't know. I think it's that's what I would be worried about, is if you're going to go all in on the financials and the trading, but at the end of the day, you're a US company with US employees who have a sense of morality and are not afraid to speak their minds. You're not going to be doing some of the same things that you know, the guys that are out of Asia are doing. And it's not just like literal crime. It's just the way of,
it's just like being willing to do anything to make it work, right? Like, and you know,
like Binance does not apologize for pushing shit coins on their users. They never have, and they never will. And nobody ever goes to Binance and is like, why are you pushing shit coins on your users from emerging economy? Nobody asks that, right? If Coinbase were to do that, right? If they were to literally like flashing lights point their emerging economy users at a freaking total shitcoin, their own people, their own company, their shareholders would be like, yeah, okay, hold on, right?
Well, this was part of the pushback as well, right? That Jesse got, is like these creator coins, they're just meme coins, right? They're just these kind of short-term speculative things. And, you know, this is also part of that, like, kind of false equivocation of like everything's meaningless, no tokens have value, so they're all just a you know, vector for short-term trading and making profits, so like don't even worry about it. There's an argument that Jesse's kind of attention coins and creator coins were actually worse than meme coins from that perspective. Like they were designed to be even more ephemeral, right? And you can squint at it and try and like, you know, jump through intellectual hoops to justify why it's like not that, but it was kind of that, right? And so I think,
but it was in a much prettier packaging that the US market could definitely morally get behind and feel good about, even if they were wrong, right? And I think that, I don't know, we'll see how this plays out. I agree with Luca. It feels very safe, and it's kind of it's a bit disappointing, because even if you're gonna go
even like broader DeFi, right? Like like just trading, like pure trading. If it was like, hey, the original vision of the Coinbase app was like making all of DeFi on base accessible, right? Not pure trading, right? It was,
and it's always had social stuff. They've always had their, like, the regional, like, Toshi app had like the messages.
Yeah.
And yeah, it always ends badly, but like that's besides the point, right? It's always been a bit different. They've
Yeah.
always been pushing on that end. And to just sort of, it feels like a little bit like to just sort of like be like, well, we tried it and we're like done. Like that was wrong. It's a bit like, oh, okay, like that sucks.
Yeah.
Even if they're right in the end, like it's still, I don't know. I prefer my crypto with a little bit of illogical social.
Yeah, there has to be
stuff.
some random shit in there, right?
Like,
Okay. I mean, look, to be totally honest, it doesn't really matter because AI is going to wipe us all out pretty soon. Everything that we're doing is
the
somewhat
agents are the only ones that need to talk to each other. It's going to be
literally.
fantastic.
I know. So this is quite funny. So our next segment, Vitalik is talking about AI rails, and also Stripe has this agent money, right? So here's how cynical I am, and how like I just don't believe anything. So I saw that post. It came up a bunch of times. People were like, oh, Stripe's doing this like agent payments thing, and I read the first tweet in the thread, and I was like, man, like we're so cooked. Like this is not even a crypto thing. They've just made like the Stripe rails accessible to agents, and agents are going to be doing like some weird centralized Stripe thing. I wake up this morning and I'm reading the briefing doc and I'm like, wait, this is actually crypto? Like it was kind of weird because if you look at that first tweet, it doesn't say anything about crypto, doesn't say anything about stable coins, doesn't say anything about anything. And so I just skipped over it and completely like had the most like brainless take on that thing, to the point where I didn't even read the second tweet. How little attention do you have where you're like, don't even read the second tweet? So Vitalik has push back on this race to AGI. Good luck, dude. Honestly, like we're not winning this race. Talking about people outside of a system trying to impact the system, like the safety people inside of these teams are like losing their minds. I don't think even Vitalik has a chance of slowing this down. But saying Ethereum should provide guardrails, not acceleration, privacy, verification, decentralization, et cetera, and like it's that it feels like a very Vitalik take, very aspirational. I don't know how much impact, honestly, Ethereum is going to have in this process. To be totally honest, as someone who is like very immersed in it right now. But this is kind of an interesting point, this idea of like local LLMs versus cloud-based LLMs. So maybe it's worth digging into that for a second. So I set up a new Mac and threw a bunch of RAM at this, and I started running Kimi 2.5 locally, and it's pretty good. Like it's pretty good. It's I think, if you were cost conscious, I mean, there's an investment in the machine, right? It's a $20,000 machine to run this thing well, right? So that's the first problem. It's 512 gigs of RAM.
Jesus, I didn't realize it was that expensive though.
I mean, sorry, 15 grand US, right? Sorry, I'm talking Australian dollars because I was
Okay, still, that's a lot of money.
Real world. But yeah, it's a lot of money, right? So, but I was like, I want to get the max spec machine so I can see like how far can I push this, because a lot of the distilled models are a bit brain damaged, right? So I threw everything at it, and it's pretty good. Like it is not Opus 4.5 or even like 4.1 level. I would say it's a little bit stupider than that. Hopefully they're not listening to me. But yeah, so but what it does is it means you're running it completely locally, right? So it's not going into any server, it's not sending the inference off and collecting data, et cetera. Like the problem is that running local models, if you are at all reliant, which you will be, right, on cloud models, yeah, the ship sailed on that is my hot take. And so like the idea that the local model is preventing me, maybe I can run it on some stuff that I don't want to get in the cloud, but like I've got Claudebot running on the same machine that is using Opus 4.6, so it doesn't really matter, right? So I don't feel like there's a huge differentiator in these local models. This idea of like, oh, run your model locally thing, I just don't think that's going to work. Genuinely, like I don't think anyone's going to care.
Yeah, I've run locally for like over a year now, and I go back and forth, and they've just never been. And that's the reason I've never invested in like a bigger, badder machine. Is like I just feel like it was a huge. Like I just always would end up when I really wanted to like get into stuff, I would end up back in the cloud.
Right. Yeah. So
because I do, and I have a lot of data where I can't like. It's not that I couldn't, like I could, but it's like. There's some deep ass intel I don't want in the cloud, right?
Fair.
And it's like, and again, it hasn't. I keep an eye on it. I mean, it sounds like it's getting better, but
Kimi 2.5 is like Opus. Like probably I would say it's as smart as my sense is. It's about as smart as like Sonnet, which
okay, so it's getting
it's getting better. It's getting better. So, but. I think there's two trajectories here. Like on one hand, if these models are getting smarter, there is a point where arguably for like everyday tasks, you hit some kind of diminishing returns.
Yep.
Like, and arguably, and I don't know this, right? But like, let's say it's 6 months from now, and I can run a local model that's as smart as Codex 5.3 is now. Am I going to be satisfied with that? Like
no, because the cloud is
no, of course not. Of course, I'm not going to be satisfied with that because I've got Codex 6 that is like, I don't even know what it'll be doing. I shudder to think, but it'll be doing some stuff, right? And so there's almost no way as these things accelerate that you will be able to keep up. And that just it feels like the local model thing is just not going to be able to keep up. And there's just no way that it. It works.
I also feel like it's splitting your. Okay, so if we want to talk about like how do we make these things not destroy humanity and the long tail of safety concerns that people have, I feel like the it's local is just like a complete cop out, and I think that
local in some ways is scarier, honestly. Like,
that too.
the one thing that I think is good is that it is still extremely difficult to train a new model, right? Like there are a lot of research in the same way that like you need some crazy shit to build a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
Like you can't just turn up and start doing it. It's there's some like resource constraint issues in building a nuclear weapon. You can't just build your own model, right? Like the resources are too constrained. So it's not like some crack teenager is going to like generate AGI in their basement.
They're just going to use the cloud.
Yeah.
Like everyone else. So I don't know, like and this is like, for those who know me, like I take like security and safety very seriously. Like I think that we should absolutely be concerned about these things. And it concerns me when I see the safety people leaving the AI being like, I'm going to go move to an island. Bye. Like that concerns me.
Imagine if like Mehdi from like SigP and like you and all of the like crypto safety people were all of a sudden like, I'm out.
We give up.
Like,
okay.
I'm moving to England.
Here's the
thing. Would be like, holy shit, crypto's cooked. Like we're in a lot of trouble.
Yes. Okay. However, you cannot. It does not work to just like stomp your foot and be like, stop it, slow down. Like, no. Like there's so much value on the table. There's so much innovation happening. It's happening. Your choice is whether you like stopping, slowing down is not an option. So it's like, do you want to freaking run full sprint ahead while also trying to make it safer and responding to the active threats and responding very, very, very quickly to like the new innovative ways the AI is screwing us, right? Or do you want to like, scream about it and not, and then be very upset when people don't stop?
there's like some throwbacks to like DeFi summer, right? When like people were just YOLO doing the craziest shit, and it was like, I don't have time to audit this contract.
Yeah.
I need
and
too.
the people, including myself, who yelled like, don't test and prod, right? Don't test and prod, guys, please stop. Turns out that was like objectively the worst way to handle it, because if we had been like, if we'd sort of accepted that the testing and prod was going to happen, and thank goodness we did have like enough sort of like diversity in the attitudes. If you accept that, then you're like, okay, what do we do? And it's like, okay, you speed run monitoring, you speed run circuit breakers, you speed run reactions, you speed run like these iterative things.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Can you guys stop deploying unaudited contracts on mainnet? Like, no, it's permissionless.
Exactly.
No, we're not going to stop doing that. Like, shut up.
And it also, when you're so sort of like, I just feel like it creates this gap between sort of like reality and the people who are like super aware of how that reality is going to play out. Like, they're right. Like, they're like, you throw a bunch of shit at the wall, bad things are going to happen. They're not wrong. However, if we want less bad things to happen, we got to figure out a way to like have both, right?
You need like a pragmatic approach to security, not like a,
And the people who are like knowledgeable and obsessed about the safety and the security of these things, they have to understand sort of like the current state right now, which means that they have to be part of it, right? They have to be sitting there, which is why people like Sam, CZ Sun, right? Like when Sam was like his experience with like the test and prod generation was very different than mine, because he was like right freaking there.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of put him in a position to have major impact, right? And like prevent hundreds of millions of dollars from being lost.
Yeah, build rapport with, like, he was in groups that I was in, and people were like about to deploy something to prod, and he's like, let me just have a quick look at this before you do it, right? As opposed to someone who's like, don't do this, and it's like, kick them out of the group. Get them out of here. I don't want to hear this. So,
exactly. And so that's my recommendation for people, is like, it's not that you're wrong, it's not that you're giving up, it's that there's just too much value on the table, and people are going to do this. And your choice as a person who has concerns is to like sit with them in the room and really go hard on these like what can you have an impact on right now? What can we respond to right now? And actually move really fast on those things, right? If ChatGPT is telling someone to commit suicide, fix that right freaking now. Right? Yeah. Don't go sit in your silo though for 6 months and then come back on the next model. Like, no, fix it right now. Find a solution.
We've analyzed the data and it's like it's fine, right? So yeah.
So that's And then I think it's not, by the way, it doesn't like solve the world's problems, but it's at this point in time with the rapid clip of innovation, it's the only way to go about it. And
which is why
like hold on to your butts.
It feels a bit scary that these guys are all kind of rage quitting.
Yeah.
From like, because it's like, did they try this or did they not try? Like, we don't really, the guy who's like, I'm going to write poetry, like he didn't really explain. Obviously he's under like massive NDAs and they would shoot him or something if he talked about what was actually going on in there. But I think the thing for me that is the most interesting about all of this right now and the acceleration is the largest constraint on innovation in the world, except for maybe like free power, right, is software. Mm-hmm. And if these agents start making software non-constrained by human slowness, right, and they start to accelerate how quickly software can recursively self-improve, and they're like Opus 4.6 and Codex, they're using the tools to build the tools, right? Mm-hmm. And that recursive self-improvement loop is the fast takeoff loop that we've been talking about for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Like Kurzweil, like the singularity is nearer If you haven't read it, it's worth reading. It's out of date. It was 6 months ago. And like the things that he's saying in there are like quaint, right? But the funny thing is that, you know, he wrote The Singularity is Near in like 2006 or something, right? So it's been 20 years. 20 years later, the book is like just victory laps, right? It's like nailed it, like all of this stuff. And he's like, we have 4 years, like 2030, like 4 years. We're in the fast takeoff. And the most interesting thing is if you look at the curve, right, it looks flat. To most people, it looks flat. You have to be really close to it to see that it's actually just, there's a little gap now between the like y-axis, and that gap is accelerating. And it's still small, but it's just going to go parabolic soon. And when it does, you know, like a new model might take a day.
Yeah.
Like if each iteration of the new model takes a day, right? Because, you know, they improve the efficiency of training and fine tuning and like all of these different inputs into the process that's constraining it, like sleep, humans sleeping, like it's going to be wild. It's going to be absolutely wild. So,
and that's why the humans are like the ones that know the most, right? They're freaking out and they're like, we have to stop. But I'm like, I'm here to tell you guys.
They're inside these labs seeing this, like the people that are closest to the curve, that are watching it as closely as anyone can, that are inside the machine, are like, this thing is really detaching from
and they're not wrong. I want to emphasize this. They're not wrong. Like I was also right. I'm like, you testing prod, you all get hacked. You all got hacked. Okay. Always. It was like so obvious, right? It doesn't do any good though. It doesn't like, right? The most value I had during that early DeFi summer was that realization that like, wait, hold on, yelling from the outside about them being hacked. Like, because ultimately then I'm still sitting in the boat with you guys because I'm part of DeFi summer as well. Yeah. So I'm like, stop it. You're going to get hacked. Please be safer. Audit your stuff. Risk, guys, right? But then when it happens, I'm still sitting there with you. I still have to deal with it. It's still my industry, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter that I was right, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. That's exactly.
I still am in the same shithole.
That's the pragmatism, right? Like if someone is building a nuclear weapon right next to you, and you're like, "Can you please stop that?" And they're like, "No, thank you. I'm going to keep going." Like you can decide to keep shouting louder and louder at them, or you can be like, "Can we at least put it in a box, bro? Like, can we at least like stop it from killing everyone when it blows up?"
Yes, exactly. And so that's what I think. That's the only sane approach right now for the AI. Otherwise, because it's also not a good idea to just let the people test and prod. Like that's everyone's right, guys. But
everyone's right. So the interesting thing about this though is like it feels at the moment, and this is a little bit how COVID felt, early COVID, right? It feels like the start of a movie. You're like you're sitting there and like there's a few people that are like, hey, there's like a weird egg in that field. Like, should we be worried about and it's like an alien that's about to fucking hatch and like take over the world, right? And it's like you're kind of looking at it and you're like, maybe it's fine. But it feels uneasy. There's this like feeling of unease, right? Like disquiet at the moment. And then you start looking around, you're like, what are the things in this horror movie or whatever? Like, what are the like, you know, kind of little things that get dropped in that go, oh, that was the thing that was going to be it, right? And it's funny because you look at payments and everyone's like super excited about agents paying each other. And X402, which allows, you know, agents to pay each other. And I look at this genuinely and I go, this feels like one of those things where like in the movie of the world is taken over by agents, giving them money, giving them the ability.
It's great. Like, everything's going to be fine.
Like we've just allowed them to pay for things because one of the things is, right, one of the things people have been worried about is, okay, if agents are smarter than people, they will be able to trick people into doing things for them. But if you give them money, They
No,
don't
no, they're
need
just
to
gonna-
trick you. They're just
Yeah.
gonna bribe people into doing things, and we know that works really well. They like
Yeah.
they're gonna have their own version of Tornado Cash. They're gonna have
Yeah.
private payments. Like it's gonna be wild. And they're gonna be buying. They're gonna be buying and selling humans.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's gonna be. I mean, it's going to be completely insane. Like it is. There are so many different ways it could go wrong. I think that there's a lot of like really obvious ways that we can probably get our hands around. I think there's a lot of not so obvious ways that will become obvious. And my hope is that if everyone stays sort of really in tune and in touch and aware, that you build up the muscles. And so every new bad thing that, right, you start going off the rails and you're like right there ready to correct it. And you're prepared, you have the processes, you have the mindset to correct it, rather than again, like going back to the silo for 6 months, right? Like there's the safety team back there in the other room, and the safety team's like, I hope you check with us. And it's like the train's going off the rails right now. No, the safety guys, the people who are right there, you know, they need to be there. So yeah, payments are going to get interesting. I mean, I hope the rails at least help with like the issues that we're seeing right now with like MetaMask, not the agents getting super confused by MetaMask, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully the rails will, I don't know, I think there's an opportunity for it to unlock a lot of new efficient things that are just sort of like blocked right now, and especially like business model wise, right? Because right now you still have to like convince a human that they need this, which is creates a bunch of weird structures. There's a lot of things that you can do, so like for example, you don't like humans, you never want to ask a human to pay for something once, because like it's very hard. It's basically as hard to convince them to do something once as to do it repeating. But if you get the repeating, if you get the recurring revenue, you're set, right? Agents, I think it's actually like much more just logical, right?
Yeah,
and so you can unlock a lot of
transactional.
things.
Like
And
I'm
that's a-
paying, I'm paying for this thing now.
Yeah.
Um,
and I need it now and whatever. And there's a lot, if there's enough agents that are doing that, that's a business model. And there's a lot of business models that, you know, like not every business needs to be $1 billion business, right? Like there's people that have useful little things, they can share it and they can, you know, sell that one time and it's fine. It's great if the agents will buy it, right? So that I think is like the exciting part of it. The downsides obviously is like, yeah, the agents are definitely gonna come up with their own like weird immoral schemes to screw each other or screw their humans or whatever.
yeah. Literally, like the agent pool 2 is what I'm waiting for. Like they will reinvent pool 2s, I'm sure. Conversion evolution.
We'll see.
All right. Well, it's been fun. Another awesome episode. Thank you guys. So we will see all of you next week.
Awesome. Bye guys.